James Ruvalcaba is a writer, blogger, and recently published indie author, and he's here with us now. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's great to have you here on the show. Now, your book that you've written recently is called The Light Through the Pouring Rain. So, for everyone that hasn't really heard of it yet, how would you describe the basic plot of it?
Sure. The basic plot is the story of my fiance and I. We both endured a cancer diagnosis.
Yeah.
We were together for 5 years, and she had cancer for 3 years. So the story goes about the details, the emotions, and just the overall pain that it feels to go through a cancer treatment
Yeah.
and cancer diagnosis. They try to maintain a regular life while dealing with that in the background.
Absolutely. And is it quite hard for you to write about something that's so personal to you and pretty upsetting, let's face it?
No, not at this point. But this is honestly, I'm 2 years removed from the situation. I'm sure
Yeah.
if this had happened sooner, it may have been a lot more difficult. I'm more at a place at peace now, so I'm okay now. So
Yeah.
it's a lot easier, but it's just to be able to continue to honor her legacy. So it makes it easy to keep pushing forward when there's a greater good for it.
Yeah. And do you find that the process of writing the book is still quite cathartic, though, and perhaps gets some grief out that you didn't know was still there?
100%. There was chapters in particular, parts of the book I was writing where I couldn't find myself, crying. I just found
Yeah.
myself crying. Excuse me. There was tough parts. There were parts I'd have to just come back to and come, a few days later and try again.
Yeah.
But overall, it felt like it was one kind of like a diary, so to speak. It
Mm.
really felt like I was able to vent out and let my emotions out. Not that I couldn't really have conversations. It was hard to articulate to other people how I was feeling. So
Yeah.
thankfully, because the book, I was able to release some of the emotion and some of the, some of my ideas and some of my, overall pain about it. So I am thankful for the book in regards to that.
Yeah. And is this a direct real life story, or have you just written a semi fiction book that's just inspired by your own story?
No, this is a real story, and it's a real story of my fiance and I.
Yeah.
I don't mention any other names. I asked her family and my family, and out of respect, they just wanted readers to walk away with my name and her name.
Yeah.
So it is a real life story.
Yeah, absolutely. And is it told from your perspective, or kind of both your perspectives, or maybe even in the third person?
It's told from my perspective. So
Yeah.
overall, it's both our stories together from my perspective. There's elements in the book where there's conversations I remember, or the documentation I have of how she really felt and how she, throughout the conversations we would have,
Yeah.
she would write in her own little diary herself. So I would go through it and be able to understand how she was. But overall, it's from my perspective, and as a male to open up in that type of way about a real life problem is
Yeah.
it's definitely real. It's real raw emotion, and it was hard to talk about at times, but overall it was a beautiful thing, and to speak on it from a male's perspective is different these days. So I wanted to go ahead and do that as well.
Yeah. And I guess it's a book that a lot of people will be able to relate to because of all things that have affected people in a negative way, cancer will definitely be in the top three. So, was it ever in your mind that you wanted other people perhaps to get comfort from your story?
Yeah, so that was the overall message here, was to be able to help out others going through similar situations. My fiance and I were
Yeah.
in our mid 20s when we were going through this. I'm currently 28, so this is only a
Yeah.
few years removed from that situation.
Yeah.
But we're not the first ones to go through it. We won't be the last ones. But I think when readers pick up the book and they find that we use, a sense of humor, we try to keep things as normal as possible throughout the book.
Yeah.
I feel like you're able to find comfort. We smiled a lot still. We still had a lot of good laughs, a lot of good memories. So just
Yeah.
because we dealt with the kind of cancer diagnosis doesn't mean it's a cloud over you, so to say, and
Mm.
everybody just negative and sad and depressed. Where it was the complete opposite. Everything until her final moments were happy ones, and that's how we dealt with it. With our sense of humor. So
Yeah.
I hope readers who go through a cancer diagnosis, or even if they don't go through cancer diagnosis, I think they could apply some of the principles and some of the lessons I use in the book in order to, and apply it to their own lives. If it's depression, anxiety,
Mm.
there's so many things this world has to offer. So as long as you can keep your sense of humor, I think you're going to be able to overcome your situation.
Yeah. And I guess that's something a lot of people don't realise. They would probably understandably assume that things would be so bad all the time, but really you can still have some of your life that's still very happy.
Yeah, that is 100% correct.
Yeah.
As long just I know so many people, and I felt it myself. That a lot of people, probably feel guilty to smile and feel guilty to laugh out loud when you're going through a situation. But
Yeah.
yeah, don't put those feelings to the side and don't feel guilty. You're still, no matter what you go through, you're still able to laugh. You're still able to have a good time and maintain your sense of humor. You don't have to lose it because you're going through a negative situation.
Yeah.
If that was the case scenario, as you were just saying, we would all just stop laughing. The world would
Mm.
stop spinning. So, just put one foot in front of the other and just continually move forward. And I think you'll be able to handle the situation or ordeal you're going through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess because of the fact that people are still happy, it would be impossible to tell who has cancer if you were forced to pick one out of the crowd.
No, yeah, 100%. I think if there was a label, there was something over somebody's head saying that they had cancer, I think it would be, that would be the situation is already hard enough as it is, but then to
Yeah.
try to identify yourself out into the public would be another thing as well. So,
Mm.
I think that's what we try to do. I think the more you try to blend into the public eye, I think the easier the situation gets.
Yeah.
You would want people to treat you with a little bit more respect, but that's just not the world we live in. So I think it's just beautiful just to be able to continue the life you were living previous to the diagnosis.
Mm. Absolutely, yeah. And how long did this book take you to write from start to finish?
It took only about a month or so. It wasn't that
Mm.
long in overall in length. The book is relatively short.
Mm.
It all came about because of the pandemic here.
Yeah.
I'm sure like in your country as well, the pandemic came out of nowhere and nobody was really expecting it. And as kind of like everybody else, I was kind of getting really fat
Yeah.
during the first couple of weeks of the announcement of the lockdown. I was just relaxing, watching Netflix, and just eating and eating. And every single day, I just kind of walked by the mirror outside my house, and I just noticed I was getting a weight gain. So I
Yeah.
told myself, I gotta do something. So I created a routine where I would just go walking, and I would come back and start writing. Um,
Yeah.
it was the perfect case scenario. It's hard to say that COVID-19 was a big blessing because how many people lost their lives to it. But
Mm.
in my own personal life, it was the biggest blessing in my life because it was what got me to start writing.
Yeah.
It was the perfect case scenario. And what I mean is, I always told myself, if I was able to write this book, what would it take, or what would I need for me to start writing this book? And I always say, if I was able to stay at home and just get paid, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
And that's what started happening because of the pandemic. So I was like, well, I can't look back on this situation and have regrets. I need to go all in on this. So
Mm.
I started writing in over a month's time. I wrote the book, and it's a crazy situation. I never anticipated this to ever happen, or this is how the stars kind of aligned here. But yeah, it took about a month or so, all during the pandemic.
Yeah, it's amazing. Who'd have thought that we'd ever get the perfect excuse to sit at home and eat chocolate? But we got it, and it
We
was
got it.
great. So, is this the first book you've written, or have you done many different ones before?
No, this is the first one right here.
Yeah.
First of many to come. I have another book coming out this is coming November as well. So
Ooh.
for such a time as this. But I'm a contributing author in that book. So part two of this book, The Light Through the Pouring Rain, will come out hopefully sometime next year, just depending on demand. If I have more readers who I'm growing the fan base as we speak. If they want the book to come out, I'd be happy to put it out. It's
Mm.
already all ready to go. And that 1 month, I wrote 3 books altogether, like the
Well.
whole series. So if the demand is there, I'd be happy to put it out. But as of right now, this is my first book, and this is my most precious one.
Mm, absolutely, yeah. And is the next book also a kind of personal story that's true as well?
Yes, it's going to continue through with the same name, The Light Through the Pouring Rain. It'll have a different title to it.
Yeah.
It'll have like a little under like a subtitle to it. But
Mm.
overall, though, every single day, you and I and the rest of the world walk. That's another page to our book.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of story to tell here. I'll give you a perfect case scenario because I get this question quite often, like, where could you go from here? Like in my personal life, it's since it's from my perspective, we're gonna continue along with my journey and stuff. And
Mm.
it's kind of like dating. Like how do you dating is already hard as it is, and
Yeah.
dating is crazy. I always like to call it the zoo out there. It's wild,
Yeah.
and trying dating is already difficult prior to having lots of loved one like this, and it's even more crazy going through it like this when people ask like, how was your past relationship? Where are you coming from? Why are you single for? And I
Mm.
eventually have to tell them. I would always run into kind of like a crossroads, and what I mean is, you know, I think when we date, we're all trying to one up the person we're getting to know as ex. So
Yeah.
everybody tries to say, "Oh, I would never do that. I'm trying to be. I could never do that to you. How could they treat you so badly?"
Yeah.
And then, and that's how dating kind of works. We go back and forth with that. Well, with my case scenario, because I wrote this book and I knew I was going to honor my fiance's legacy here, I couldn't tell these people a lie and tell them that she never existed, because then that would defeat the whole purpose of the story. So
Yeah.
when people would ask me like, "Oh, how could you?" or "Where are you coming from? Why are you single for?" and then I would tell them, well, where I'm coming from, most people would run the other way.
Yeah.
Most people were scared and thinking they were going to build like a puzzle. They were going to fix me back up. But if I didn't tell them that, then it's like I'm doing a dishonor to my fiance's legacy here, and that's the complete opposite of what I wanted to do. So, examples like that, and there's a few of them like that. Going back into the world, understanding the world didn't stop once I lost my fiance. The world just kept
Mm.
spinning. So just going through examples and principles like that in the next book, and the ones after that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's quite an interesting idea, and it's great that you are being honest because I guess honesty is something that's quite important on the dating scene, even if it doesn't happen much.
Yes, it is. It is crazy out there. If you're out there and you're not dating anymore, I give all the kudos to you, because I'm not jealous and I'm not envious of it. I was out of the game for about 5 years or so, and I forgot how crazy it could be. And yeah, it is just as crazy as I remembered it.
Yeah. When you write a book, do you have any ways that you like to focus on it, or are you still trying to figure that out because it's early days in your writing career?
Um, I'm just a creature of habit when it comes to routine. I just like
Mm.
to have my day set and structured every single day.
Mm.
So after exercising, whether that be walking, working out, I always like to use that kind of like the high, like the high you get after working out or exercising. The endorphin rush.
Yeah.
I like to use that to kind of clear my mind so I can remove all the cloudiness and the writer's block here. It's just over and over. I just like to, use that to my advantage here. So I just try to attack it one chapter at a time. If I could complete a chapter a day, then I feel like I did more than enough. I do know that there's writers out there that, do sections, they do paragraphs, and and nothing wrong with that at all. But just me, I'm just a impatient guy.
Yeah.
So I like to kind of get done with everything as soon as possible.
Mm.
Not rush it to a fault to where my product or my book, comes at fault to that. But I just like to get it out as much as I try to do as much as possible I can within the day.
Yeah. And beyond this book and the one after, do you have any plans that you're thinking of writing books beyond that?
Sure, I definitely have plans. I have
Yeah.
goals and dreams here that when I initially, even before I initially wrote this book, that I know for a fact that it could be, I think it could be created into a movie or a TV script.
Mm.
Just the elements and the foundation that it has behind it, I
Yeah.
think could definitely translate to, the small screen TV, or it could be big screen to movies. I have those plans. I currently pitched the book to other to producers to see if anybody would be willing to do it. I think in the right hands, I think the story could be told in such a beautiful way that it could reach a higher platform and reach a greater audience here. And since it's a real life story, it's an original.
Mm.
It's not a copycat movie, or it's not a remake here. It
Yeah.
is original. It is raw. There's tons of emotion behind it. I think it could really translate well to the big screen here. So currently doing that. I'm going to continue writing books as long as the demand is there, and just try to help out as many people as possible with anybody who's gone through cancer treatments.
Yeah.
I didn't get into it too much, but my background is with special education. So
Mm.
to give back to people who dealt with cancer, to help out the community who have disabilities, or have any special needs. Just trying to give back as much as I possibly can. To be honest with you, have goals and timelines set out, but one day at a time. Just if I could help somebody out on the street, if I could help somebody in the gym, any way I could possibly help out, I'm willing to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, where are we able to check out this book if we'd like to have a little read of it then?
Sure, you could find it on Amazon. You could find it in Barnes and Noble. You can find it on many. There's about hundreds of them I've listed at this point, but there's a lot of indie author websites out there.
Mm.
To whichever your preference is, I can guarantee the book is on there. You can find the book on my personal website, which is the title of the book, "The Light
Yeah.
Through the Pouring Rain." There's just so many ways you can find it there, and then my social media as well. You can find me at James M. Ruvalcaba, and I'm on almost all social media platforms. I'm not on any dating websites, so you will not find me there, but you will find me on most of them, though.
Well, thank you very much for joining us here on the show today.
I appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much. Sincerely, thank you.